Good morning, everybody. This is Man Coverage with Knoxville Nate and Mr. James Bonneville. He is not on the screen currently, but will be joining us momentarily. We got a lot to talk about today. We've got some special guests. We've got one of the first families of college football, the Daltons. We got Donnie. We got Donovan. We got Darrion, all going to come on and talk a little college football with us and give us the lowdown on what's going on with their careers and where they're at the current moment. We're also going to break down the NFL scouting combine today. We're going to talk some winners and losers real quick and get everybody the updates on who we thought really helped themselves at the combine in Indianapolis and maybe who hurt themselves. Now, I always give people credit for going out and competing and doing the stuff. So I'm not really going to ever give anybody too much flack if, they didn't run the best time and they didn't have the best 40 time or the best vertical or the best bench, because I give them credit for doing it. But we're going to just talk about who we think really may have helped their stock and who potentially could have hurt themselves. James, how are you doing today, buddy?
Any better be a crime.
I like it.
Where do you want to start off?
Well, we were going to talk a little bit about the scouting combine that we got going on in Indianapolis. Obviously, lots of eyes this week on the combine. We've got the defensive backs going today, so we haven't really got to see the corners and the safeties as of yet, but we have gotten to see the rest of the groups. And wanted to start off just talking about who potentially may have helped themselves. And I'm going to let you go first and give me the guys that you thought really stood out and potentially help their draft stock.
Well, I go to three people. And quite frankly, it's three people we talked about during our Senior Bowl show. I look at Christian Watson out of North Dakota State. I mean, he's got 6'4", good size, good length. I love him on the boundary. Goes out and runs a 4.3 640. I mean, it just helps his cause even that much more. And looking at how he played, not only in practice, but during the Senior Bowl itself, I think he now looks – probably early third day, somewhere in that third round range. Who knows? He could even go higher, but he just really stood out to me. Zion Johnson, the transfer out of Davidson to Boston College, the kid's just a mauler, and he just showed up once again. I mean, 5'18" in the 40 for a guard that's 315 pounds, 32 bench, 32 vert, 112 broad jump. I mean, the kid, I mean, if he's not a first rounder now, I don't know what it's going to take for him not to be a first rounder. I mean, people are still talking, saying middle, late first, maybe early second. I'd put him ahead of Kenyon Green, to tell you the truth, in my opinion. And then, I mean, I've been preaching this name for some time. I admit I'm a homer, but Boye Mafe. Boye, out of Golden Valley, Minnesota, went to Hopkins High School. I said it from the first time I saw film of this kid in high school. This kid has the potential of being a star. What's he do? Runs a 4.5 340. He's 6'4", 261. This kid runs like a deer. 38 vertical, which is great. I still think the kid can go higher when he does his Minnesota combine, and he does 125 in the broad jump. I mean, the numbers just pop off the charts itself. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought he did. You kind of highlighted him before the Senior Bowl, and he really played well down there. I thought in practice he was one of the standouts, and then also, in the game, I thought he played pretty well. So that's a kid that I was really impressed with, and somebody that I think definitely helped themselves by going to the Senior Bowl and participating in the combine. The guys that really popped off the charts to me were, me, I'm a defensive guy, former safety. I like to stay on the defensive side of the ball. So the guys that I really liked were obviously the Georgia guys. I think the Georgia dudes all helped themselves. I think Jordan Davis was the guy that this guy was probably a first rounder already.
Yeah.
Didn't have to really do anything, but then he went out and, runs a 4.78 40 at 340 plus pounds.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. And this is a guy that can play 1, 2, or 3 technique. This is a guy that can rush the passer, stop the run. This is a guy I'd be taking if I needed a defensive tackle.
I mean, honestly, right now, I almost said San Diego, the Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers. I can't believe I said San Diego. It's still ingrained. Look at what you're wearing today.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you tag team him with a Bosa. I mean, I'm not going to lie. If I'm Patrick Mahomes, I'm getting the ball out a lot quicker because they're going to create some damage on that line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I mean, he ran a good time in his 40. He also broad jumped 10 feet 3 inches.
I know.
I mean, how can you broad jump 10 feet 3 inches at 6'6", 340 pounds? I've never seen anything like that. And then, his teammates, Travon Walker, I thought he really helped himself. He ran a 4.5 40, had over 35-inch vertical leap. This is a dude that already, like I said, had potential to go in the first couple of rounds and probably moved himself up. And then I've got to talk a little bit about Mr. George Pickens, who I like as a wide receiver. Unfortunately, he had the knee injury, and some people were concerned about what he might do running-wise. And honestly, he ran a 4.47. So a dude that's not even a year removed from knee surgery and runs a good time like that. So I think Pickens helped himself. And then the two running backs, Zamir White and also James Cook.
They ran well.
Both ran 4.40. So I think all the Georgia crew helped themselves. But who I really like, and this is a guy me and you have talked about a lot, is Malcolm Rodriguez, linebacker at Oklahoma State. I mean, I love watching that guy play. I really do.
We talked about this offline, but is there a better comparison to Zach Thomas when he was playing for Texas Tech? I mean,
he's a guy that just sees the ball, man. He runs. Yeah, he knows where the play is going to go before it happens, just based on formation and based on personnel. And so he's really smart. And then he's also, showed that he's got athletic ability. I mean, running a 4.52 40. Yeah, that's no joke, man. And I think that's a good thing for him because he really helped himself. And I think that whoever gets this guy is going to be, helping themselves on the defensive side of the football.
It's going to be interesting to see how quickly he goes into draft. There's so many metrics people put into it, and when they see that 5'11" linebacker, and they're going to question what he could see through the holes.
Yeah.
But I mean, go back to Zach Thomas and what the damage he caused with him and Jason Taylor in the same draft. I mean, Jimmy Johnson rebuilt that defense in one draft.
Correct. And this guy's, he's 5'11", but he weighs 232. He ran a 4.5 40. He's got almost a 40-inch vertical. And I think he definitely helped himself.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
So I liked Malcolm Rodriguez, and I liked him before this, but I think he helped himself. And then I've also got to talk about the defensive ends a little bit. I got to be honest. I got to give a little credit to Mr. Thibodeau up in Oregon.
Yeah.
I didn't think he would do anything. This is a guy that's already a potential top 5 pick. Didn't think he'd really, participate in any of the drills, but he did. And he ran a 4.58 40, which was impressive. He did 27 reps on the bench. This is a guy that has a tremendously high ceiling, and I think he helped himself. And the other two guys that I really liked on the defensive end side is a guy that we talked about at the Senior Bowl quite a bit, Jermaine Johnson, the Georgia transfer to Florida State. Really, really helped himself transferring. I mean, this is a guy that was in the rotation at Georgia to begin with. Then he goes to Florida State and wins the Player of the Year award in the ACC. Then he goes to the Senior Bowl and dominates. Then he goes to the Combine and runs a 4.58 40. Yeah. So this guy, if I had to pick the defensive end, I'd really struggle as to who to take. Jermaine Johnson, David Ajabo, who also ran a 4.55 40, Kayvon Thibodeau, Michael Clemens. There's a lot of good defensive end picks here.
If you need an edge guy, this is the year to get it. I mean, quite frankly, you could find quality at edge probably late second, early third round because there's just so much there. I mean, it's crazy the amount that it's available. I mean, I can't remember a draft where there was so much edge involved in it. I mean, let's be honest, a need position in the NFL overall. I mean, this is just, you could stockpile on this position alone in this draft.
It's a true story. I mean, there's some of the guys that didn't even do anything here that are still on my list. But Trayvon Walker, Mafe, who you mentioned, Ajabo, Thibodeau, Jermaine Johnson, Hutchinson, who we haven't even talked about. I like Joshua Pascal out of Kentucky.
Yeah.
He ran a 4.740. Tyreek Smith and Kingsley Inagbare out of South Carolina didn't run the fastest times at 4.8. 4.86, 4.87 respectively. But those are two guys that can, come back in their pro day and shave a couple of tenths of a second off that 40 time. And they tested pretty well otherwise and also have pretty good film. So, this is a pretty deep defensive end draft. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, I don't really, take anything away from anybody who goes here and participates and competes. But there were a couple guys that I think potentially hurt their draft stock, and one that me and you talked about, obviously the Purdue wide receiver, David Bell.
Yeah.
Didn't run well. Didn't really put up good numbers outside of the running. Found himself at the end of most of the wide receiver categories. May potentially slip a little bit. What do you think about him?
He could, but honestly, I still say the value's still there. I mean, that's the one thing I don't like about the combine is it's all about metrics. It's not about football.
Right.
And a guy like David Bell, there's just great football skill. I mean, go back to the Iowa game this year that they played. I mean, he went up 200 yards receiving against Iowa in Iowa.
It's a piece of the puzzle, right? Like you got their tape. I think that accounts to me for over 85 to 90%. In my opinion, of what you're looking at. I mean, then you got the interviews, you've got, your meetings with these kids, and then you've got, the Senior Bowl, the combine. You factor those things in, but, think about the guys that have like destroyed the combine and then potentially gotten drafted really high because of it.
Manrich, Mamula, Fabian Washington, the list goes on and on.
We could just talk about the Raiders draft, essentially, for about 25 years there.
Oh, yeah.
Davis was running it. He took the guy that ran the fastest times, the Bruce Campbells, the guys like that.
Darius Hayward Bay.
Yeah, Darius Hayward Bay. That was the name I was trying to think
what about Troy Williamson?
Bingo.
The guy was fast as crap, but he couldn't catch a cold.
Yeah, you can't just look at combine numbers and think that you're gonna take this guy and he's gonna be an instant steal. You got to look at people's tape. You've got to look at what they've done on the football field. That's what we're doing, right? We're playing football. We're not going to the weight room every Sunday and broadcasting that on Fox. We're playing football. That's what we want to see. So, like I said, I don't take too much away from David Bell. I actually give him credit for doing it and participating. He can still improve his numbers at the pro days. And my God, he had some great games.
I mean, you just don't know. I mean, he could have been sick. I mean, it's just one day and one time. Yeah, I've seen so much film on this kid that honestly, I thought he was the best receiver in the Big Ten, which was a year where it was stacked at receiver. I mean, everybody had one. And he was just that good. I mean, every game Purdue played, everybody was focusing on David Bell. And if he would have played in the Tennessee game, the bowl game, he could have, probably had 300 yards receiving. They could have probably thrown up a 70 spot on the scoreboard, and Purdue's freaking school song would have been playing in a loop. I mean,
there's no doubt.
Crazy.
There's no doubt. I was thinking that the whole time while the game was going on. I'm like, they're doing this without their best player, and that's why, you could tell he was missing, and then their second receiver gets injured during the game and they still win. So they would have dominated if Bell would have been out there. And one guy that I have to mention that I wasn't really high on to begin with, but in my opinion, as I told you off air, did not throw the ball well. And that's Sam Howell out of North Carolina. I mean, this is a guy that was probably looking to get drafted in the later rounds to begin with. But to be honest, it just wasn't his week throwing the football wise, and had trouble with the out routes, had trouble with the timing, had trouble with touch passes. A guy that towards the end of the season, he looked more like a running back than the quarterback because they were running him so much.
Yeah,
and, just didn't really help himself. I don't think throwing the football at the combine. I don't know what you saw.
I wonder in some ways if it's in his head. Because, I mean, you look at how much personnel he lost between, his sophomore and junior season.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a completely radically different team. And he had to carry a lot more of the load. I'm kind of shocked he went in the draft. I would have personally stayed, much like Spencer Rattler, and tried to, rehabilitate that year. But, you got to go when you go. So we'll see what happens. When I keep seeing the comparison to him to Chase Daniels, I mean, unless he really loves holding a clipboard for the rest of his NFL career, I mean, hey, I've always said the greatest job in the world, holding an NFL clipboard and being a backup quarterback, is you make a lot of money and you don't have to do a lot of work. So
I would trade bank accounts right now with Chase Daniel.
Oh, 100%.
If he wanted to do that, I would swap him. So, not a bad comparison as far as a guy that's made over $40 million in pro football. So, but yeah,
number.
Hey, just my point is he really didn't do anything. He didn't bench. He didn't run. He didn't do the cone drills. All he did really was throw. And I think he might have been better served not throwing and doing the other things because he's a pretty good athlete.
Yeah.
But, whatever. That's my call. But, it was a good week. Got to see these guys in their, in their shorts and T-shirts, which is not what they'll be wearing on Sunday. So who the hell cares, right? But, this is for people like us to talk about. It's for the NFL Network to get a little bit more money and, people to get their stopwatches out. But honestly, as we mentioned, football is about football. And if you could play on Saturday and if you've got tape that shows that you're one of the best players, you're going to be just fine on Sunday too, in my opinion, no matter how many times you can put 225 up.
Absolutely.
So, all right, moving on from there, I think we're going to go ahead and pull our guests in. James, I'm going to let you take over and let everybody know who we got today, because we're real excited to welcome the Dalton family to the show.
It is my pleasure to bring in the Dalton family. Father Donnie played for the University of Minnesota, close personal friend of mine, and his two kids, both Donovan, who played at the University of Hawaii, and his son Darrion, who's at San Diego State. Gentlemen, thank you for joining the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Bonnie.
Hey. Well, first off, I want to kick it off and talk about with you, Donnie, about you came out of Eisenhower High School in the famed Ike Squad program out of Rialto, California. You had players like Ronnie Lott, R.J. Soward come out of there. What was your recruiting process like coming out of that program in California to end up in Minnesota? If you could just explain what you were looking for and what other schools you were talking to in the process and what drove you to Minnesota.
Well, it was a different process, Bonnie. It was not like it is today. Things is totally different now from a recruiting standpoint. Kids got more access to just different outlets. So for me, back then, we was kids. It wasn't really like something that we thought of. We just knew that we were pretty athletic, and we just knew that we had dreams of, going to college one day. What that looked like, we didn't know, to be honest. And so as far as the recruiting process, we just started to notice once we started to get into high school, we were pretty good. And the teams that came kind of before us was pretty good. And so with that, that brought a lot of colleges to our practices and things like that. And so there were several days we would have practice and we would have like 20 or 30, Division I colleges out there. To us, it wasn't like a big thing for us because it was kind of like this was our neighborhood and this is all we knew. We just knew that those were people that can get us to the next level. So we just always wanted to perform our best. And so we just utilized that, and that kind of motivated us. For me, my process was a little different than most. Being on the team, we had like 11 kids that had Division I scholarships. I was one of those 11, but academically, that was something that, took me through a different path. And so I was fortunate and blessed. My cousin was Leonard Russell, who ended up playing at Arizona State and then played in the NFL for several years. He went to Mount San Antonio Community College. And so that was kind of my pipeline, and that was my outlet right there to kind of continue my dream. I knew I could play at that level, but, just due to things that I wasn't doing earlier in my years in school and stuff, I had to take a different route.
Who was your when you were getting recruited to Minnesota? That was during the Jim Wacker era, correct?
Correct.
Who was your recruiting, the coach that was recruiting you during that process?
Then I had, Coach Wacker. I had Coach Wacker that was recruiting me. And it was really funny because I was actually, getting recruited by Texas El Paso, Texas. And I had just got back from Texas El Paso. And then my dad had called me. And he was just like, Coach Fisk, who was, my coach at my junior college, rest in peace. He passed away. And he called me and said, hey, we had, Coach Wacker down here, Coach Stevens. And I was just like, okay. I just took a trip, down to Walnut, California, and, met a lot of these coaches. And, a lot of them, they didn't stay around after, I had got recruited and came to Minnesota because we had a lot of changes. So they left. But Wacker was the one that really just touched me. He was genuine. He was a people's person. And he made you feel good and connected.
Nice. Cool. Well, hey, I've got a question for the two boys. Obviously, both you guys coming out of Saguaro High School and then going through the recruiting process. Just want to hear, kind of what led to your decisions about, which schools you picked with Hawaii and San Diego State and, why you chose them and what the recruiting process was like, because we've been talking about recruiting a lot on this show. And I'd just like to get your perspective, Donovan, and then also Darrion, we'll get you second. Why don't you lead it off, Donovan?
Okay, yeah, the recruiting process was a little different for me as well, just like my dad said for him. Academically, I was a little struggling in them aspects of life, and that was the main thing, just not having the proper grades coming out of high school, but still having schools contacting me interested. So when I moved to Arizona my junior year of high school, I was getting contacted by a bunch of schools. Minnesota even flew out, saw me practice and stuff like that. And I was hoping to go to Minnesota my whole career because that's where my dad played. I grew up trying to be a Gopher, wanted to be a Gopher. Then when we moved to Arizona, things changed. Started getting recruited by a lot of other schools. I know Hawaii came in the map and was very interested. And then they ended up being the ones who really stuck with me throughout the process. And just being there, knowing I had some difficulties at school and I had to get there with the grades aspect. And then they just the ones who really believed in me. I signed to a JUCO as well, Arizona Christian, during that time, just in case everything didn't work out. But Hawaii said everything was going to work out. And then that was the plan. We just made it work and got to Hawaii and then was blessed enough to get a degree, graduate, and get some games under my belt.
Nice. What about you, Darrion?
For me, it was also very different. Obviously, I went through the recruiting process during COVID. So that was obviously never really seen before. And going into my junior year, that's when I got the starting place and was looking to have a big year, which I did. And the recruiting just wasn't there really. And then after the season, obviously COVID hit. So then not many schools were contacting me, just around like D2s, D3s. And then around March of 2020, Army was my first offer. And then started racking up some offers, and San Diego State was my fifth one, and that's the one that really stuck with me. I feel like it's the best location, best academics, best football program out of all my options, and that's really, really what I wanted to do was go to a good academic and a good football school. So I feel like I saw that in San Diego State.
Wow.
Now, I know, well, Donovan, I know you played for Chad Glendenning at Apple Valley before you guys moved out to out to Arizona, playing for Coach Mons at Saguaro and the famed SAG U. I mean, let's be honest, it's a national program with many names. I mean, heck, during your time, you had was it Jarl kid that played for Arizona State, who was Army All-American, the Soul kid that played for Arizona State. I mean, Darrion, I mean, heck, you played with Keely Ringo, Denzel Burke, was it Cameron, who went to Army, who I think is in the transfer. Cam Nash, Quentin Somerville. I mean, you guys both played with a stockpile of kids. What is the culture that Coach Mons puts together at the high school to build? I mean, this isn't just a one-time thing. I mean, you guys are, state championships are the norm at your programs. Like, what does he do that's just so different that drives that program to where it's at today?
I mean, it's very family oriented up there. I mean, they go up there, they work hard. It's a family. Everyone loves each other. Everyone knows what the end result is, and that's to win the state championship and to go to Division I level to compete for a scholarship. And they do a good job up there, just bringing a family oriented culture around. And I believe that's why they have a great success in winning and bringing kids to the next level.
What about you, Deuce?
Yeah, I think obviously, like you said, the family thing, but the thing that I feel like that stands out about Saguaro is just like even if the kids that don't go D1, they're all just as bought in, and that's the really unique thing that Coach Mons brings to the school, and that's why it's just such a great bond over there.
I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, I go back to Donovan when you played your senior year against Valor Christian in Colorado, where they had a billion McCaffrey boys on the team. And,
I remember that.
And you guys just took it to them. I mean, it was like very clear from kickoff that on the line of scrimmage on both sides, you guys were just dominating them. I mean, is it just that culture that we're just gonna beat them? I mean, just out-muscle them and just get in their heads. Do you guys really drive that home of really taking control of the game right from the opening kick?
Yeah, that's the goal every game, to just come out firing on teams and just giving them no mercy. Don't let them score any points. Doesn't matter what the score is. We tried to score like 70 that game, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't letting up. It didn't matter what the score was. We were trying to shut them out, put up 70 points. That's day in, day out. Every week we were trying to do that. Like my brother said, like all the other kids were very bought in, even if they didn't have Division I scholarships. Everyone was bought in every day, working very hard, and it was known that Saguaro was going to win most of the games.
Nice. Hey, Dad, I got a question for you now.
Yes.
With two boys playing major college football, and obviously you went through this. Just want to know, one, how proud are you of these two boys here? And also, like you mentioned, the recruiting has changed. What was different from your perspective from going through it yourself as a player, and then now, going through it twice already with two boys as their dad?
Well, going through it as a player was, different than going through it as, as a dad. As a player, it was like kind of a lot you and, kind of your family, but mainly you. Now with the boys, it wasn't me. It's, it's the blessings of, their mother, my wife, and things like that that's been very supportive throughout the whole process to allow them to kind of pursue their dreams and their goals, and allow me to kind of do my job to kind of help them, stay on track to do that. I think it's been a collective, between that and the community. We've been blessed, to live in Apple Valley. Can't say too much, bad about it. It's just a lot of great things that came out of Apple Valley, and for the boys to grow up in that community, the friendships they developed, the hard work they learned how to do, whether it was basketball, football, or whatnot. So those are the things that I'm really grateful for. And I always tell them it's hard work. It's not my dream, it's their dream, and it's a blessing that God gives them the ability to continue to do what they love. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. We only live once, and you're supposed to live your life doing what you love. And this is what they love to do. So it's a blessing for them to be able to do that.
Now, boys, it had to have been kind of nerve-wracking when you looked at the schedule and Hawaii was playing San Diego State and Dalton Bowl 1 being coming up, which I kind of coined the term to Donnie. What was going through your mind and thought process leading up to that game that you guys, you're always part of the same team from a family perspective, and now you get to go head-to-head against each other? I mean, what was your guys' headspace leading up to that time period?
Man, it was just fun. I was having fun with it. It was fun to see my brother out there and playing for San Diego State. I mean, I'm a big competitor, so I was talking stuff the whole year actually, saying Hawaii's going to beat San Diego State, stuff like that. I mean, it was very fun, very fun.
Yeah, like you said, the competitiveness in our family is strong, and ever since I signed that or I committed, we had the trash talk rolling, so we were really ready for that game, and we came out on top. So I feel like I'm the winner on that argument.
Crawford and I were actually kicking around the idea of, making it a trophy game and bringing a trophy to the game and having you guys bring it around the field, just like they do, like the little brown jug or the axe or something like that.
That would be awesome.
That's great.
No, hey Donovan, I got a question for you, man. You've gone through it. You've played, graduated, got through several years at Hawaii. What kind of stuff can you give your brother? What can you tell him to kind of set him up on his way as he continues on his career at San Diego State?
Man, to just work hard. I mean, hard work really pays off, and that's really a good quote to go by. Like if you work hard, everything will pay off. And the times do get tough as a freshman. I know it's hard to like move to college by yourself and get away from the family and stuff like that. But just working hard every day, knowing what the end result is, will lead you to the right way, and you'll do great things in college. And just work hard every day. It's gonna get tough, I tell you that. Like freshman year was very tough for me, going against 22, 23-year-olds, even 25-year-olds, some grown men out there, and you're only 18. I mean, it gets tough, but once you work hard and you get used to the rhythm of the game and get cool with the coaches and everything works out just how you want it to work out.
Hey, this is a question for all you guys, but I'll start off with Donnie first, okay?
Yep.
You've got an incredible friend network from your time in California and Minnesota, between players, coaches, people, who was that person or persons that gave you the best advice that not only helped you during your collegiate career, but really who made you as a person after your collegiate career and your professional career? And just tell us what that was.
I mean, truthfully, it all goes back to, my family, my parents, my brothers, and the people that was around me, my cousins and things like that. I had a lot of cousins. I had a lot of family members. And I had a lot of people that, were in athletics and that played, professional sports. And so it was kind of something that was always driven by us. And I would say that was always something that motivated me, but my father was probably my main motivator, because he really worked hard for a lot of things, and he did it the right way. And, he sacrificed a lot. And so it was like, okay, he taught me that, the things I didn't want to do, I had to do, but it taught me how to be a man. And so I would say he's the main one, and he's the one that I really, ride with now. And when I look at my boys, that's what motivates me, because I think of him, as far as what we're doing, and things like that. And so it's a passion, and it's something that I definitely get from them, and a lot from my mom too. My mom, I mean, those that know my mom would understand what I'm saying. She's a piece of work, so I get a little bit of from her too.
What do you think, Darrion?
My motivation.
Like who motivated you? Player,
Yeah.
Think about even back to your Valley days. Valley to Arizona to you being in San Diego today. Who are those, like a player or coach or person that gave you that good advice that not only helped you, like not only in college, but when you're thinking beyond college too as well, things that aren't taught on a football field that help bring you to that next level?
It's definitely my brother and my dad right here. Those two have been with me all my life, and those are my two biggest supporters and biggest motivators that have been throughout my life since day one, since Apple Valley. I've always looked up to my brother, playing on varsity since freshman year when he was out there. Just a lot of motivation to go off of. My dad, he was my trainer, mostly my coach all my life. So those are the two biggest inspirations in my life that led me to where I am now.
Lil Dub?
Yeah, I got a few. I know my dad for sure always been there grinding me out and pushing me to my limits, even days I didn't want to work out or try. He was there pushing me. Another name is Tyrone Carter, Gopher legend, was there molding me since like 7th grade, working on my skills and things like that, from the footwork, from everything. Warmasoni, another one. And then and all the doubters, that was the main thing. Like a lot of people doubted me growing up, just saying I wasn't going to make it. Everything was a handout to you. Like you just got this far because of your dad or things like that. And I just wanted to prove a lot of people wrong that I can do it by myself. I went and got a scholarship. I went and got a degree. I went and played some games, made some few plays, good plays. And that was just my main motivation. A lot of doubters out there in the world.
Wait a second. Nate, bring up the play. You got to bring up the play. All right. Let's be honest. There's one play everybody's going to remember you by. And Donnie, I can only imagine. I wish I was in the room when this happened. But the helicopter
You don't get
ride.
it, you leave them
You
back there.
got to
We'll
bring
see.
up the
Third
helicopter
down.
ride. How was it?
Yeah, I got to ask about that too. I mean, you got a potential #1 pick in the draft coming right at you. And what were you thinking when Zach Wilson was trying to get in the end zone here? Because I watched this play 500 times this week. I got to be honest.
Yeah, man. I mean, going into that week, I wasn't even expected to play. I know it was a bowl week, and I wasn't a starter and things like that. And I just didn't even expect to play. I was just out there having fun, and then my name was called, and I was thrown into the fire. And then that play happened. I seen him coming. I was like, I got to make a play. I was dead tired. I ain't gonna lie. I was out there tired. It was a long drive, but I was like, I got to put my team down. Me and Gene Ford right there made a extremely good play.
I can't stop watching it. I can't stop watching it. And,
It's got NIL written all over it. I mean, not only are you in Hawaii, but helicopter riding Zach Wilson, this has got NIL written all over it because there's got to be a million helicopter tours in Hawaii. I mean, I wish I would have been in the room with your father because I guarantee you he'd been the one like literally leaping out of the sofa, freaking punching at the screen, like so happy.
I was in that room and he was going crazy. To say the least. I recorded it after. He was still going crazy. You can hear him in the background. It's everything you expected, probably.
No, I got to give both you boys credit because I got to be honest, man. I played football in Ohio and had trouble, staying focused. But tell me how you do it, man. Being out in Hawaii on the island and being out in San Diego and staying focused in college football. That's got to take some effort.
Yeah, it was definitely hard to stay focused. I mean, I got all the beaches, everything out there. Weather is nice year round. I mean, it was hard to stay focused, but having the parents I have in my corner is the main thing. Having great parents, my mom and dad just kept me molded to stay to the script and stay focused on the end goal, which is getting a degree and just having fun with what you do. That was the main thing. But it was fun on the islands, like great times, some of the best times of my years. And, man, I met some great people, had some great times, and definitely will be back.
Nice. What about San Diego, Darrion? You got to like being out there.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice in SoCal.
Yeah, I've been out here for probably 9 months now, but I think you just got to separate yourself. I'm here to get my education and then obviously go to the NFL. And if you don't have those same goals, obviously you're going to let the outside stuff distract you. So I feel like the motivation for me just to want to be great, that just really like I can stay focused better, and stuff like that.
I'm guessing it's a little better like November when it's still like 70 degrees outside and you're not playing in like sub 30s, for during a game. I mean, granted, those games are a lot of fun, but I'm guessing you guys like it a lot more.
Yeah, it's a lot better.
Yeah, it's very fun playing in the warm weather, I'll tell you that.
Well, I mean, you guys have, combines going on right now. And, you both have got guys that you played with in the combine and played against. You had two guards yesterday, Darrion, and not only that, you had Thomas, the DN, who's a projected first-round pick. Tell me, like, having been on the field with these guys, what do you see from the guys who are at the combine right now? Where do you see them, how they fit at the next level?
Yeah, there was actually 6 San Diego State players from our last year's team that was at the combine. So I think it's really cool to have played with them and, see them on the big screen and get the opportunity to show off their talents. And I think all of them can play really well in the NFL. I think they all have a legitimate chance to be really good, especially Cam Thomas, who was a fellow D lineman of mine. He was a big mentor my first year. I looked up to him a lot last year and just tried to learn. And listen to whatever he had to say that could teach me and to follow his path and to go into the draft and stuff like that.
Well, not only that, it's going to up your game. I mean, playing against that kind of talent, you're only going to get better just by being around better players too as well.
Yeah, William Dunkel, that guard who was running yesterday, went against him in practice a lot, and that's the best lineman I've ever went against. So obviously started off rough against him, but, slowly made my progress. He's just a really great player, and it was great going against him.
Lil Dub?
Man, yeah, just playing against some NFL talent, even at Hawaii. I mean, I went up against a receiver my freshman year. He's still in the NFL today. His name is John Ursula. He plays for the Seattle Seahawks. Man, it's one of the best receivers I've ever seen. Best twitchiness, just off the ball speed, route running. But you just know when you're going against an NFL guy, it's not hard to really tell if he's NFL likely or not. But at the college level, it stands out if you're going to NFL or not with the talent and knowledge they know. So it's very fun going against the top players because it just puts you right there to see if you can be at the top level too.
Well, Donnie, I mean, you went up against a little bit of talent yourself that played in the NFL. I mean, heck, there's one quarterback who finally just decided to retire who you played against.
Yeah, talk to us about that. The Big Ten and slamming with those boys back in 97. That was when the Big Ten was for real.
That's when football was real, and it was a blessing to just even be a part of, the Gopher program and to just sweat it out with my brothers. It was kind of during that changing phase where we were trying to get to some bowl games and win it. So being a part of that process, but just going up against the Charles Woodsons and the Orlando Paces and, all of Darnell Autry. Those were some big time players. But it was fun, and some of the fond memories come from a lot of those big games, especially Ohio State games. And then can't forget about the Iowa games with Tim Dwight. That was one athlete that, my son had mentioned earlier about John DeSure with the fast twitch and the speed. He kind of reminds me of him a little bit because Tim Dwight could turn one way and he can go the distance real quick. So it was nice. It was fun. And like I said, it was a blessing just to, play with all my boys, Crawford, Thale, and all of them that we all know who we still stay in contact with now. Freddie, Dion, all of those guys. And so it was fun. But it was you could tell that, hey, these boys was for real, and it was a good time.
Well, okay, now we got to go back to the Valley, okay? And you and I have had this conversation before, but I haven't heard from Donovan's side or Darrion's side. How in the world did Gable Stevenson never put pads on?
Man, I never knew. I don't know
Me
why
and
he
Gable
didn't, but he was. Go ahead, you good.
Me and Gable, we started to become better friends actually later on, like past 3 years, and he actually was thinking about going to play for Minnesota, but I've always asked him why he didn't play for Apple Valley at least, because he could have been dominating for real.
It's one of those things though, truthfully, everybody have their path, they know what they're going to be good at, just like there's a lot of kids that played basketball when we were younger, dominated on the football field,
Yeah.
But, it's just that this is just what, was meant to be, but that's a good thing because, Apple Valley had a lot of great kids that come out of there that were successful in athletics, and the ones that wasn't successful, they're doing a lot of great things. Me being, one of those guys that was in the community, I stay connected with a lot of these kids. And so sometimes we can't let sports, be the outcome of, the success of our kids. And there are a lot of kids that, are doing very well that came out of that city.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just from a leadership standpoint too, as well, and how much they've given back to the future people too, as well. I mean, there's plenty of names that have come through that talent, but it's a testament to yourself and the people before them to help guide them through that process too.
Well, it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, I've heard some names on those AAU basketball teams you guys played on. Man, there was some competition on those squads.
The famed Minneapolis Lakers.
Yeah.
Bonnie, it's funny that you said that because last night I just got I was digging in the crates and I found some old DVDs and I was like, man, what are these DVDs? And I started looking at them and they were DVDs of when Donovan was in 4th and 5th grade. And so, our youngest son DONNY, he's my baby. He's starting to learn sports. He's starting to get into it, and so he's playing basketball now, and he's got a little jump shot. And so I found these videos, and I put him on last night. He was in the bed. I woke him up out of the bed and was like, "Come and watch your brother." And it's so funny because he looks a lot like him. You know, they look a lot like, you know, physically wise. They got different bodies because DONNY's more like the Deuce type. But it's nice for him to see his brother when he was that age, you know, because now he's starting to get that passion for basketball. So he was loving to watch it. So, yeah, it was fun. It was fun back then watching those little kids run around and do what they enjoy.
Yeah.
I mean, guess, and he's a Lakers fan too, because I remember seeing so many pictures of both you, Little Dub, and Darrion in your Lakers gear. It was like a family photo watching you guys all together in your Lakers stuff, because if he happened to become a Clippers fan, would he like have to sit in another part of the house for dinner then, or what?
There is no Clipper fan like in LA. It's only one way. It's like, you know, it's only one option. That's just how it is.
It's the Lake Show or nothing. Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
The hey, what's the best piece of advice each of you guys could give to, you know, future coaches, future players about the college game and even beyond? Like what they need to do, stuff that you've learned through your processes.
I mean, the main thing is just having a connection. I know coaches and players having a connection with your players, and then the players having a connection with the coach is very key in today's world. I know recruiting and everything like that. It's a big business. So having a great connection, having a good connection will lead to success, I believe. And that's where things start off, is just a connection with the player and the coach. If you don't have the connection, if you guys aren't clicking, if things aren't working out, then I don't think your future could work out or anything like that. But main thing is having a great connection and just staying script to what you have planned.
And I'd say probably just have patience, because, you know, even with me, my recruiting process and stuff, I started to get very impatient and thought it was going to be too late. You know, I didn't think I'd get that D1 opportunity. But, you know, just got to stay patient, keep working, and you control what you can control.
Yep.
Oh, I mean, you know, I'm simple. It's all God's plan, and that's the one thing we all live by and abide by. So it's like, just believe in the process, know your part, understand your role, and know doors will open and things will happen. That's my main key in how I look at things.
Nice.
Well, I've got one last question, and it's focused on Deuce. When you got your pick 6 in high school, one, how come you didn't do the prime dance? And two, how quickly were you trash talking to your brother about getting the first pick 6 in the family?
Well, the crazy thing about that was my last high school play ever. That was the last time I stepped on a high school field. And, you know, that dance, I really watched that again, and I really, really should have done that. And, you know, that's something that I've always, you know, done, like, jokingly growing up, but that I should have really done that dance. But, yeah, I'm the pick 6 king in our household.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that video right after the game, sent to me right after the game. I wasn't out there watching. I seen it right after the game. I was like, dang, that's crazy. You got one before me.
Yeah.
Hey, you still got time, man. You got time to put one down this season.
Oh yeah, it's going down.
Well, I truly appreciate you guys taking the time and telling us your guys' family story. I mean, awesome. Full disclosure, I've known you guys for quite some time. It's been a little while because of COVID since the last time I've seen you all, but we'll get together again. But I really appreciate you sitting down with our and having people listen to hear your story, and, you know, keep telling them what college football has done for people, not only on the field, but off the field too as well.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys for having us. It's always important, Bonnie. You know, it's nice to be able to get the boys and do something that we've never done, you know. Hopefully we can do it again with, you know, another one adding to the screen, which is DONNY.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah, man.
Well, I mean, Jen and Manny have
all
got to be
4.
Well,
right.
And Jen's got to be sitting there. What about me too, as well? I mean, she was part of the process too. So
yeah, she mentioned that last night, but she was like, "Oh, I'm just joking."
We'll have to have her on next time. Have the boss on.
Absolutely. Hey, give them my best. We'll see each other soon. All right.
All right, bud. Thank you, guys.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you
Thank
all.
Have a good one.
All right.
All right. That was the Dalton family. Man, that was pretty cool. We talk a lot in this show about college football because that's what we're all about. We love the game. We love watching it. We love talking about it. We love analyzing it. But it's really cool to hear, from a family that has two kids that are playing college football right now and a dad who played college football at the highest level, and hear, what it means to them and what it, how it's affected their lives. I think it's good for our listeners to get a little snapshot into that. And it was cool for me just to hear about, a family that loves the game and what it's done for them and how it's kind of shaped and molded them to who they've become today. I don't know what you think, James.
Honestly, the one thing that didn't come across for me that I want to bring out there is how hard they work. Like, this is a family that really works hard. They take nothing for granted. They give it everything they got. You hear the old Miami Hurricane running back, Melvin Brayton, who said, if you got to give a leg, give a leg. If you got to give an arm, give an arm. And these guys, this entire family will do everything they have to do to accomplish their goals. They're going to outwork everybody. It's a lot of heart that they have. And it's something that I want to make sure people know about, because I have an immense amount of respect for Donnie Dalton. I mean, he is an incredible human being. Grant, he played football, absolutely, but his heart in what he does with working with kids is, he wants to help create that next generation to be stronger than the current generation. And I take my hat off to him every day of the week.
No doubt. And, it shows up in his sons, man. You can tell those boys were raised right, and they love football, but they love their dad too. And that's what it's all about.
Not only that, I mean, incredible friend network. I mean, the amount of people this family knows that they can sit there and pick their brains on is immense. And I'm just glad we had a chance to have the entire family. Well, 60% of the family. Jen's probably sitting there yelling at me right now, like, why wasn't I on the show? But great family as a whole. Fantastic group of people.
Yeah, no doubt. And they got it. They got the floor plan set that you need to follow, Bonnie. They are out in the sun now, man. You got to get out of there, dig out of the snow, and follow them out west, dude.
Hey, well, they can't do the Rocky IV workouts, where you're going through the, the log on the back, going through the 3 feet of snow. I mean, you can't do that out there. Well, you maybe can with the sand, but yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we'll see what's up. We got the safeties and the corners are going today on the combine. We went over a little bit earlier before we had our guests on about, our winners and losers. Obviously, as we mentioned, this is just a piece of the puzzle. So we're going to keep close tabs on the pro days. I've got a schedule right here, which shows us every pro day that's going to go down from every school from here on out. And, a lot of guys that did participate in the combine are going to go and try and improve their numbers. And then a lot of guys are going to, probably put numbers up for the first time at their pro day. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. One thing I've got to ask about is, what the hell happened with my boy Olave? He runs a 4.2840, on Thursday. And then on Saturday, it turns into a 4.3940 official time. I'm like, okay, I get it. It's not official right away. You got to go back and watch the tape. But how does it go up from a 4.26 to a 4.39? That to me is kind of crazy.
I was wondering that myself, honestly. I like when I said I kept going back and forth to your tweet that you sent me, and I'm like, how is it a 4.39 now? I mean, granted, they're working off electronic times, and I'm not sure how, having never been to the combine, where they post that stuff, but it just seemed kind of odd to me.
Yeah, well, you know what? They need to get their equipment a little bit more sophisticated because, he didn't run the second time because he ran a 4.28 the first time and was like, why would I run again? I mean, I'm not going to beat that. That's a great time, and leaves it on the board. And then they change it 2 days later. That's not really fair to him. So I'm sure, knowing the competitor that he is, he'll be out there in Columbus doing his 40 time once again on the pro day.
I mean, yeah, he's got that extra time, but it's honestly, once you get that sub 4.4, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you don't want to be. I mean, you go back to the John Rosses of the world who ran a 4.22, but once again couldn't catch a cold. You know, I mean,
that guy still hasn't caught a pass in the NFL. So, Chris Olave is the most heralded receiver in Ohio State history, and I thought both him and Garrett Wilson helped themselves by showing up and competing. I mean, those were two of the guys there. They didn't have to do anything at this combine, and they probably both would have gone in the first round. But I like the competitiveness. I like seeing them go after it and try and improve themselves and try and be competitors, because that's kind of what college football is all about. I
mean, honestly, with both of them, I think they fit different schemes. Yeah. It's all going to come down to the right program for each of them. But I think you're spot on.
Two different players, man.
The one thing unique about this draft is there's no lock number one. No. I mean, we're talking about 5 or 6 guys that could go number one. It just depends what direction Jacksonville wants to go. And quite frankly, if there's a year they could trade out and get more value, this could be the year where I'd trade back.
I'm with you 100%. There's no real incentive to keeping that number one pick, because they've got, like you mentioned, 5, 6, 7 guys, maybe more, that could potentially go number one. So why not trade back at least a few spots, get some additional capital? Because let's be honest, that team needs a lot of help in a lot of different areas. So instead of getting one guy and, using all that capital on one dude, why not trade back, get some additional capital, and increase the talent level all across the board on that team?
It'd be interesting to watch, because next year's draft is going to be pretty stacked at quarterback. Yeah. That I wouldn't be a bit surprised you don't see people trading first-round draft picks unless they're that set on their quarterback going ahead.
Yeah, there's no doubt. This draft is not stacked with quarterbacks, nope. Honestly. And, I was watching these guys throw, and, I really like Malik. Malik's kind of taken the torch from me as far as probably the number one quarterback. Pickett, I think, is up there too, just based on his tape. I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk about his hands, but I really could care less how big his hands are. I mean, I've seen the guy throw the football for 4 years. I'm not concerned about whether or not he can take a snap or throw the ball. I could care less how big his hands are. The dude can play, but I kind of like the athleticism that Malik brings, and I like the ceiling, as I kind of think it might be a little bit higher.
I like his deep balls. I'm not going to lie. That was the one thing that really sunk home to me, because I never even really thought about it when Liberty played, because they didn't go that vertical. But he looked really good there. And quite frankly, I agree with you. He solidified me as the number one quarterback taken off the board, and he will be a first-round draft pick. I don't know where. There's a few teams out there I think he'd be a great fit for, but, I mean, now it's going to come down to individual workouts and see how he works in that respect.
Yeah, no doubt. It's people say the knock on him is he went to a smaller school, but this is a guy that was recruited by Auburn. And let's be honest, Liberty's played some really good football the last 2 years and played against 2 good teams. The only thing that kind of concerns me about his tape is, his junior year, in my opinion, was a little bit better than his senior year. And I don't know whether that was because of what was around him. I'd have to dig in a little bit more, and that's something that I will do as this process goes on, to kind of see why that was. But it's not like he had a bad senior season.
No, not at all.
Kids put a lot of good stuff on tape.
Heck, there's plenty of quarterbacks you can go back to. I mean, heck, Ben Roethlisberger didn't go to a big school, and enough said.
Well. Chad Pennington, Byron Leftwich, Jimmy Garoppolo, the list goes on and on. So it's not really about where you start, man. It's about where you finish. And,
absolutely.
These guys, if you can play, you can play, and they'll find you in the NFL. That's one thing we know. And obviously, we're going to talk a lot more about the Combine next week. We're going to have a guest on the show next week. You may have heard of him, running back from the Ohio State University, Andre Griffin, son of 2-time Heisman winner Archie Griffin. He's going to be on with us. We're going to talk some football with him. He is now coaching at Wittenberg University, which is my alma mater, Ohio Wesleyan, probably one of their biggest rivals. So we're going to talk some trash with him. And
any rivalry trophy?
No, not the biggest rivalry with Ohio Wesleyan is Denison, because they're in the same conference, and that's kind of the biggest one. But Witt has always kind of been a team that we've loved to hate, and they've gotten us the last 10, 20 years. They probably had our number, but we're getting better as we go, and Coach Delaney and Coach Watts up there are doing good things. So Coach Griffin's going to have to have his head on a swivel because the Bishops are coming for him. So we're gonna talk some ball with him, and we're gonna break it down like we always do. And as me and you mentioned, we're gonna get out next year and try and do the show. Maybe head down to the Senior Bowl in Mobile.
I'd love to go to the Combine too. Why not?
Maybe go up to Indy and go to the Combine and do some on location broadcasting. So let's do that, man. I'm excited about it, and we got to get together. We got a big game coming up. The first week of the season. I'm already looking forward to it. The Buckeyes are taking on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in Columbus at the Shoe. We're going to have to do a live broadcast from there as well because I'm going to be in the house.
There are so many good games this kick off the year. It's not even funny. Remember the years back where the first week of the season was, Sister Mary's of the Poor against a Power 5 school? Yeah,
they don't do that anymore.
That is gone.
They come out and play. I love the kickoff classic games where they started out and have some real time ball games the first week of the season, and they match up usually two teams from opposite conferences and try and get things going week one. I like it.
Heck, you got Northwestern Nebraska in Dublin. There's just some great games that are coming down the pike. Penn State, Purdue. I love seeing these teams come out of the gates. There's going to be, West Virginia at Pitt. There will be sofas burnt at the end of that game.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it already. So.
Yeah, I am too, man. I'm already missing college football. Every week it gets a little bit further closer to us and yet further away because we're moving away from the final weekend. But, the good news is we got the Combine. We're going to have the draft coming up, which we can break down. And then we're going to get right into spring ball as well because these guys are going to start practice here in a week or two. So
absolutely. Well, hey, one of our guests starts off the season against at home against the Arizona Wildcats. So Darrion's going to have Arizona in California. We saw what they did last year to Utah.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And that's a team that's, I think, an up-and-coming team.
Yes.
Got a bowl victory last year and, looked really good. So I think the Aztecs are on the rise, and they've got what looks to be a hell of a defensive tackle coming up through their ranks as well because he seems like a really good kid with a good head on his shoulders and definitely some motivation. So I can't wait to see what he does next year as well.
Perfect.
All right. Well, Mr. Bonneville, you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. This is Knoxville Nate and James P. Bonneville on Man Coverage signing off. We will be here next week. Like I said, Andre Griffin's going to join us. We're going to break down a little bit of the rest of the Combine, get you ready for the NFL draft, start breaking down some of the guys that we think are going to get picked and picked early.
Hey, and don't forget to push subscribe on our YouTube channel too as well. Like and subscribe, baby.
Yeah, go to Man Coverage on YouTube, find our channel, and subscribe because we got a new YouTube channel going on, and we need to get some people subscribed so they know when all the new content's going to be posted. We're going to start taking our interviews, cutting them up, making some shorts so everybody can get on there and see the interviews when they have time. Adios, my man. Have a good weekend, and I will talk to you soon.
All right. Bye now.
Later.